Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BTB Movie Club podcast. My name is Aaron Lashbrook. We hope you enjoy today's movie discussion. Thank you for listening.
Hey everybody, welcome to the BTB Movie Club. My name is Tim Larson. I'm here with, we're a little short-staffed today. We have Dan Sears, Sneaky Dan Steers, Mike Hilty, Aaron Lashbrook, and Brian Larson. The others are, they're sloughing off somewhere. But anyway, we're here, so we're going to discuss movie number 248 in the BTB Movie Club. This is 1988's classic, Say Anything, starring John Cusack, and of course, a handful of people who are in most of his movies. So let's get this party started. We will go to Brian Larson. Your thoughts on Say Anything?
It's just a classic rom-com. It is John Cusack's, I don't want to say coming out movie, but kind of. He had done a couple of other ones before this, Better Off Dead and something else. But this one made people really like him. Ione Skye, I don't think anybody ever liked her. But the it's just one of those movies that I think everybody in the 90s watched and has some great lines in it, and then the iconic scene, the boombox, which I've got an issue with that. Well, I'll bring that up later. But the I don't want to say dorky guy because they didn't really get into that. They didn't get into he was a little less known, but I don't think he was unpopular. I think he was known, at the party he was at, and people were talking to him, and he was just kind of awkward, but he, took a shot, and the girl said yes. So, then when asked about it, he just, I'm Lloyd Dobler. So, Cameron Crowe, he's gone on to do a lot more movies. We watched Almost Famous in here, Jerry Maguire. So, this was early in his career and, got him on his path also. So, there wasn't, I don't think acting wise or there was any breakthrough performances or, something that we saw from some of the other casts members that put them over the edge. Like you said, John Cusack, he keeps people like, one of his sisters in a lot of his movies. And then some of the other girls, the friend Corey, who's nuts about Joe. I just felt like she still had posters of him up in her bedroom and cutouts and such. It was again, late 80s, early 90s. What year did this come out?
89. I said
89.
89. So yeah, late 80s. So I did not see this in the theater, but saw it several times afterwards and actually got the DVD out today to watch it. Enjoyed it, and I'll probably watch it again. It's one of those you leave on the TV. If you come across it on cable, you leave it on the TV. But I'm going to leave that there, and we can talk about the boombox scene later.
Okay. I have to ding you on one thing here as you talk about this being one of his first movies. I remember 16 Candles being his, the first role that I remember him in, but I got to ding you because one of your favorite movies he's in before he gets to say anything, and that's Eight Men Out.
I thought Eight Men Out was later than this.
No, it's just before, I think. Yeah. So, but I know that's one of your favorites, so I had to get you on that one. Dan, your thoughts on Say Anything?
Yeah, he also did. I think you said Better Off Dead. He did The Sure Thing.
The Sure Thing, yeah, that's another good one.
Yeah, he did Class. He was in a lot of teen movies. I think this had to be a pretty risky career move for him because he had done a lot of teen comedies, and then he did Eight Men Out, which is a more serious role. and then he
Mhm.
goes back to this and does another teen
Right.
comedy. But it apparently worked out for him because he's been in a lot of stuff. Um, what did I write down here? Keymaster at your graduation party? I'd be like, forget that. Somebody else can do that shit.
Yeah.
I mean, you only graduate once. I'm not sitting here driving some dummy home, like, 50 miles out of my way to get this guy home. But I guess it showed, he was a pretty responsible guy. So I guess that's why they made him the keymaster. Um, but music in this I thought was really good. Um, he Cusack's good at like the nervous talking kind of thing. He kind of talks fast sometimes, and he appears to be pretty nervous, like on the phone when he's calling up. And I like the way they did that. He calls up and he doesn't get her right away, so it isn't a movie where he right away gets her to say yes. He gets the father, and you know anytime you talk to a father, as a kid, you're like, is he going to give the message to her or not? Or is she never going to hear this message? So I like
Or
the way they did that.
how about the dad going, is this the guy in the truck? No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like,
No.
what?
The
Dude.
guy in the Mustang? No. I'm not as cool as those guys, sir. Could you just give your
Yep.
daughter the fucking message?
Yep. Um, I think Cusack did a really good job of being sensitive without being, like a really wimpy kind of character. I think that's maybe why they made him a kickboxer to give him like a little toughness. Uh, um, when I watched, I've seen it several times. When I watched it yesterday, I go, Eric Stoltz. I don't remember him being in it. I saw Eric Stoltz at the graduation party. Like, okay. Um, but I do wonder at the end, um, when he gets her. I kind of like the way they did the end with a little bit of a open ending. He goes with her, but you don't know what happens after that. Um, because his parents were in Europe. His dad was in the military. So is that part of the reason that he went to Europe to see the parents also, or is it just for it to be with her? That was always something I wondered about in this movie. Uh, but yeah, I won't talk, ton of some other people say some other things here. Um, but yeah, yeah, Corey, she's funny with her 63 songs about Joe.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I mean, good movie. I've always liked it. I do not own it on DVD, but liked it. Good pick. Whoever.
Hmm. Um, yeah, John Cusack, I, I like the way you put it that he plays these roles pretty good. He's kind of an underdog for the romantic comedy role. I mean, he played that often and he did it really well. And I think the reason he was so popular in these movies is because, you kind of rooted for him and he gave you hope. Like if this guy can get the girl, so can I. Like he was that kind of character. And he did. He pigeonholed himself a bit in his early career. Um, but like you said, I think that paid off because he ended up playing a lot of different roles. But he doesn't, and maybe you guys will get me for this, he doesn't seem to have a lot of range throughout his career. He's a similar kind of delivery guy in a lot of his roles. Um, and, maybe you guys can prove me wrong on that. So let's run over to Aaron Lashbrook. Aaron, your thoughts on Say Anything?
I've seen the movie tons of times. It'd probably be, one of my favorites. Maybe for a specific genre now, just on what the guys have said so far. Coming back to, he had done, Better Off Dead and like the goofy, I don't know if they're 16 Candles was John Hughes. I don't know if Better Off Dead is. Um, but it's kind of silly, they're kind of goofy movies. They got like running jokes and bordering on slapstick in some occasions, kind of stuff. Then doing Eight Man Out, um, what would you call it? A drama or at least serious
Historical
role.
drama kind of.
And then I wouldn't say coming back to this was exactly the same as his previous roles. I would call this, I wouldn't call it a teen comedy, maybe a romantic comedy. Um, but there's a lot of things that make you smile, but I don't think there's a lot of like haha shit in it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd call it like young romance or what almost like book genres that like maybe a middle school or high school girl would read. Um, and not to pigeonhole that either, but I don't really see this as it's got some funny parts, but not like especially Better Off Dead.
Yeah, where
Um,
the kid goes down the mountain on the bike looking for
right.
his $2 like that.
16 Candles is more like this, but I would say even still fairly, uh, you know, two ratchets goofier than this. This I think stays pretty grounded um, in reality. Um, and some would even say, or I think they would say, like this time there were things I noticed from being in this group and now rewatching the movie. Um, but even with Star Wars, you know, how long did this take? It seems like a couple weeks and they're in love and, then they're breaking
Right.
up and he's so devastated. But working in a high school, it's kind of exactly how it happens. I mean, love happens really quick and goes away really quick, and some people are really devastated by it. So, um, I don't know. I don't have a problem with the pacing. Watching through this time, there were a couple things that you know caught me off guard, and or like I was a little more critical about than I have been in 30 some years. And Brian brought up, and if you want to, we could discuss it now. I just wonder if it's the same thing. The boombox scene. Do you want to give up your
Yeah,
criticism? I'm assuming it's a
sure.
criticism of it because I kind of,
Well, my criticism of it is where the hell is he?
yep, that was mine
Because
too.
they show us the street. There's houses on each side. He's in a park.
To
Holy,
me, it looks like a rest stop on a highway.
it's
There's
it
park
looks like
benches.
it looks
They
like
it's they filmed it they filmed it separately. That's the problem with the scene is that he filmed it in front of like a 7-Eleven or something like that, and she filmed it somewhere else. So that's why the scene feels so disjointed. And it's like, what the hell's going on with
Yeah,
this? Like, is because the original scene also called for him to just play the song from his car because he didn't want to hold the boombox up. And also, he was like, this seems really passive and stupid to do. And, but they ended up just going with it. And that's one of the big knocks on the scene is that the scene just feels very disjointed. And the reason why is because they're filming it in two different locations and not with each other either.
right. And I don't know if so. Like thinking about this, it was the exact same thing, Brian. I'm like, why are there park benches behind him? And like I said, to me, it looked like a Michigan rest stop. Um, and I was like, oh, like my whole life, I've always pictured him in her driveway. But also on this viewing, I realized what I thought was her driveway was actually the old folks' home. The circle in the old folks' home I thought
Oh,
was out in front of their house. And now I
yeah.
realized the sign for the old folks' home was in it. So I always thought he was in that circle or near that circle. And I'm like, nope, that's not it. So then I started thinking, oh, is this like um in the movie supposed to be like a metaphor, which why would he be out standing playing this music for nobody? Like they weren't supposed to be in the same spot. He's off doing this somewhere because it's a ritual that makes him feel good or something. And she just happens to be laying in bed, kind of maybe thinking about him, not that she's even hearing the music. So I had problems with it this time. And I was like, oh man, this kind of sucks because I
Because
didn't
it's
want to
the
have a
iconic
problem with
scene.
this scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now this scene doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
Right.
But so, I had the same thing, Brian. Um, but with that little thing aside, I think so. I had brought um, Empire Records to the group, and we watched it, and it was a mess of storytelling. And to me, being this being from the same period, I was gonna be like, oh, yeah, everybody's pick that comes from this era, all these movies from this era are gonna suck, and this one didn't. I thought the storytelling was spot on. It progressed in a logical way, so I couldn't knock it for that at all. Because when it was picked, I was thinking they were going to be very similar. Like, oh, it's teenagers and it's John Hughes-ish, and they're trying to tell a story that's deeper than needs to be told or whatever. And I'm like, nope, this one progresses as it should. We learn about the characters, we care about the characters when they give us information. For the most part, there might have been one or two things that seemed out of order that I wanted to bring up that I don't have my pad with me. Um, but 99% of it seemed, in order, made sense how they were giving us information about Lloyd and about Ione Skye's character and her dad and her mom, which I had even forgot we meet her mom, asking her to be nice, when the FBI comes. Um, and I mean, even that maybe unnecessary, but it still made sense and fit and made me think I learned a little bit more about Ione Skye's character and the way her mom acted towards her dad and her new boyfriend. It was a little tiny scene, but I'm like, yeah, it made sense, and I learned about the character because of it. I don't know. This movie is heads and shoulders. Um, what do I gotta say, more better done
Mm.
than the movie I picked. Um, I don't know. Just it's things like that just the timing, the actual time it took, hour 40 seemed to fly by. I was interested the whole time. I was invested in all the characters, even the side characters. Corey and Joe's relationship, and it was weird how many times I didn't remember him popping up so many times, like at the gas and sip and stuff like that. So I just paid attention to him more. But no, I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. Like I said, I think there was one other, I don't think it was a continuity issue, but it was like, why'd they do this before that? Um, just trying to look at it more with a critical eye, but I really enjoyed it. So good pick, Tim.
Thank you. I can help and then I cannot help with the timeline. Because I remember him saying, as he's trying to talk to her about, no, you have time to see me while you're doing this other stuff. He said, we have 16 weeks before you
Mhm.
leave. And then they left. However, most of that might be after the majority of this movie happens, where the scene with the dad in the jail, that could be, 12 weeks after everything that happens. So, I can help a little bit, but I can't help a lot with that timeline. It does seem kind of early. Um, I like what you're saying about it holding up, like the storytelling part of it holding up. The dad character is outstanding. Um, I
All the
had,
acting, I thought all like I think Dan or Hilty said, like even just the face acting, the responses, and like I'm a big um God, I want to say John Cryer, but I know it's not John Cusack fan. Um, I like a lot of his movies, so
yeah,
um and I understand what whoever said it said about his delivery. It's kind of the same, and maybe it's that knowing what I'm getting into that I like about it. So,
yeah,
there.
same. It was
Sorry.
me that said it, and I do like him. It's just, you don't, he's, I'm thinking of some John Cusack movies that are different, like Gross Point Blank, we watched in this group. And it's definitely a different feel and story, but you get a lot of similar delivery of lines from him. And Runaway Jury is a real serious and great movie, but a lot of his lines are the same. I like him. I'm just saying it's he's kind of one note, but it's a real good note. All right, Hilty, your thoughts on the movie Say Anything, 1989?
Does Lloyd exhibit stalking behavior?
Yes.
Because that's the uh Tim, if you said something, you just mouthed it on a podcast and I couldn't hear you.
Sorry, I was saying what you said. Stalking behavior. I'm trying to think. Stalking behavior. Which parts do you guys say is stalking behavior? Brian came in pretty quick with that.
I would say the 70 phone calls, 70 voicemails he left at the
Seven,
house.
seven. Because when we're listening to the eighth one, and he said I draw the line at seven unreturned phone calls, and then you hear this is my eighth and final phone call when he
Yeah.
calls her and she's listening to it.
Okay, I missed that.
So 70 would be stalking. I think seven's appropriate. I think he is very well aware of who he is. So I and I know um our we're Hilty, you have a daughter?
Yeah, two.
Okay. So that's where like I wonder if this is gonna break down with daughter lines, like people who have daughters and people who don't,
Oh.
because that could be um I did watch for it, and I don't think he ever crossed the line. I think he was very well aware of himself, and like I thought he really tried to walk the line of being persistent but not creepy. But that's my point of view, and I don't have a daughter, so
Brian, you want to take this one? Or
I'm really having a hard time dealing with my kid's got a boyfriend now. She sleeps at his house, so
Whap.
It's- but she's 21
I
also.
was gonna say, Brian, tell everybody how old your kid is.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, was she
Yeah,
14?
yeah, 21. So, yeah, but
I
yeah,
thought
I go ahead, Tim.
just on that subject, since it's coming up, the fact that like she just graduated high school, so she's 17 or 18, and she's like, Dad, I'll be home, sometime around dawn.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Dawn.
Where were these girls when I was in high school? There is no way a dad would be okay with the daughter trusting her that much. No
It
way.
was still the 80s, and they still ran PSAs that said it's 10 o'clock at night. Do you know where your children are?
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless Dawn was her friend that went to the party with her. There. Yeah. Sorry, Hilty.
Yeah. Carry on, Hilton.
No, all of this to say that's like the big knock, like one of the big knocks on this movie. And I see what people are saying, but you're right. Like, Aaron, I'm kind of in a similar vantage point as you, is like there's a difference between being intense and being like inappropriate. And I think that's where the line is drawn. Like, yes, is he a little intense? Sure. But that's just the type of character that he is in this instance. And I don't know, like so I didn't grow up with this movie, so I don't like it as much as you all. I like it just fine. I'm definitely not one of those people who thinks that this is like overrated because I I have read some of the criticism about that as well, that this is a bit overrated because it seems a little cliche and it seems a little underbaked. And I don't know. Like to me this is just a movie that I turn my brain off and I just enjoy the ride. That's about it. Like I'd I like the part with the boombox, Brian and Aaron, you brought that point up, and I totally agree with you. It kind of takes away from it a little bit. Also, when they filmed it, they weren't playing "In Your Eyes." Does anyone know what song they were playing? Or
I
I've
can't
heard this
remember.
I heard it before, but I don't remember.
Yeah, because I did. My wife watched it with me, and I was like, because it's on the radio in the Malibu too
Mhm.
when they have sex, and so it's kind of like their song or whatever. Um, and when she goes, listen to this song, it's a really good song, and I'm like, they're not even listening to this song because but I can't remember. Is it uh, so what's this? A Peter Gabriel song?
Yeah.
Is it a what was his band before?
Genesis.
Genesis?
Yeah, was it a Genesis song? Do you know, Guilty? Or
Okay,
Um,
I'm confused. I, was the what was the song that you're asking about? Was it the song on the boombox that he's holding, or is the song in the car when they had sex?
In Your
no.
Eyes was playing both times.
Yeah.
So, but
In the movie it was.
when they filmed it, though, that wasn't the song that he was holding, or when he was holding the boombox when they were filming, they didn't. In Your Eyes wasn't playing. They added that in post. So it was like,
It was a Smithereens song, wasn't it?
yeah, like
Hmm.
don't like turn your back or like turn around or some crap like that. I don't remember, but I I don't know. I found that interesting to say the least. And again, also it's just we live in a different time now, right? So you had to wait until like the radio actually played it, or if you had the boombox, you know, get the cassette or whatever. I don't know, or whatever.
It was cassettes in '89.
Cause
Cool.
single.
Cause single.
Yep.
Um,
I heard the background on this a while ago, and I don't remember why, but they did use a different song, and then later came across In Your Eyes and went, "We got to use this for the movie. Like, scrap
mhm,
the other one. This one's better." So they had something, they intended to go with it, and they took it out because they came across it later.
mhm.
Okay, so I just Googled it, and it says, according to Google AI, that the song that was playing is "Bonin' in the Boneyard" by Fishbone.
Cool. All right. I was totally off.
It's a way
Thanks,
better
That would
sounding
AI.
song.
that would
That's
have been a much
yeah.
different sound. Or I don't know, it could be a really sweet and tender song. I don't know.
Damn, if you
But
could edit in a couple minutes of boning in the boneyard.
Got me boning, got me boning in the boneyard all night. Got me boning.
um I did read that Cameron Crowe didn't think John Cusack would have wanted the role because John Cusack was at the point in his career where he didn't want to do any more high school movies. So, and he's super glad that he did it because their other option was to have Robert Downey Jr. play Lloyd. And at the end of the day, I don't think that would have worked. And I think it's because John Cusack, just the way that John Cusack just like approached the character and just he's just overall it's the charm, it's the quirkiness. I don't know. I don't think Robert Downey Jr. could have brought that. But I did also read that Jennifer Connelly also came very close to playing Diane as well. Like, hmm, I think I
I
could
think
have
that would have been
gotten
a good choice.
I think I could have gotten on board
Yeah.
with that. Um, didn't do particularly well at the box office. You know, not a huge budget, but it only made about $20 million at the box office. But a big part of it was because Siskel and Ebert gave it like two thumbs way up on this, and Cameron Crowe believes that without that, like the film would have tanked and it wouldn't have done anything because the studio didn't do a lot to help out with that. And after that, more and more people started to put in their advertisement. Siskel and Ebert gave it two thumbs up. Like, oh, cool. So,
Well, along those lines, how do you mark? I mean, it's a dialogue heavy,
mhm,
it's a very Kevin Smithish kind of movie. Um, and those movies existed before, but there is no, long duck dong character to, make the funny commercial with or, have him say, something in an accent. I don't know. I could see that being tough to market this one, because it's younger kids
mhm,
or younger adults, older kids. It's not, I don't think, particularly funny, so I
mhm.
could see it being tough to market.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know, like uh, Tim, good pick. Actually, I kind of think Dan picked it because he's coming out the gates pretty good. So,
Hmm.
um, so I don't know. I'm torn between those two, but fuck, it's probably a Malo movie, you know. So I don't know. That's all I got. I don't have
Yeah.
a whole lot to
Thanks.
say about this.
My 2 cents on this, I saw it a long time ago once, and then I saw it this week. So this isn't something I've seen that many times. And I I laughed out loud when I saw Jeremy Pivens' first scene in here, knowing some of the other things that he's done, like in Serendipity, which is another Cusack movie that I like. Pivens has this great, like, thoughtful character, very literary, and just seeing him just being just a knucklehead slamming his head into a wall is I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, I'm gonna say it again. I think the dad character was outstanding and puts this movie in a category of being better than a lot of those other ones that we're talking about, like um the one with the I want my $2. Like, I'm not thinking of the name there. There's just something that's got a little more heart in this movie than those other ones. Looked it up. This was Cameron Crowe's first a directorial effort, so that's kind of cool. He had a lot of success with a lot of things there. Um, yeah, I really like Cusack in this movie. Again, it's funny to see his sister in the movie in a similar role that she does in a lot of his movies. She's just kind of a side character, and it's I don't know why, but it's kind of for me, it's kind of heartwarming to see her in those roles. I'm like, John Cusack obviously is saying, "Yep, my sister's got to come along and be in this little role here." And I don't know why I think that's cool, but I think it's cool. And then the one who does the songs for Joe, she plays one of his girlfriends in High Fidelity. Um, so I don't know. A lot of those connections I think are pretty neat. Uh, these I I agree with you guys that this one isn't as much of a comedy as the other ones. I get a feel that some of this stuff that Cusack was doing definitely shoots off of what the Saturday Night Live guys from Chicago were doing. The Second City connection to Saturday Night Live. It's just got a similar tone and feel, and he's a Chicago guy, so I think there's something there that connects and parallels those guys out. Um, Overall, I liked it. I really liked it. I agree, Aaron. The scene with the mom is pretty important. It lets you know a lot more about her character, which in the 80s, the girl was almost like a goal of the movie, but she didn't always get to know a lot about her. She was just like the target of the affection, and it's kind of neat to see some of her background stuff. Yeah, she's that actress though. I just hard time getting on board with uh her being in that role. It just doesn't seem like a good fit for whatever reason for me. So that's all I have for say anything. So we should do some guesses here.
Hang
We
on,
got to.
final thoughts.
Oh
Final
yeah,
thoughts,
go
because
ahead,
I
please.
remembered a couple of things that I was going to say.
Yeah.
The timeline thing that I said that there's a iffy spot because the 7 unreturned calls and he calls and this is my eighth final call. That hurts my heart that the letter's out there, flame it, burn it, whatever. Then the boombox scene happens after that, and I never that seemed a little out of order that he
Oh right.
was throwing out that he's totally done with her. This is over. And then he does. So the boombox scene happening
Because
after
he's a
that, I thought.
stalker.
Well, I'm thinking this
He's a
is his
tortured soul.
therapy. I'm thinking
Yeah.
he's in the woods in Seattle at a rest stop, and she's at her house. I don't even think,
You got this rest stop really up your ass, man.
those parked
Get
benches,
past
those
it.
not park benches, those picnic tables are rest stop picnic tables.
Yeah.
I've sat at them. I've eaten McDonald's at them.
Well, the phone calls that he makes, the messages he sends, you know he doesn't mean what he's saying. He's doing that as kind of a ploy to get her to pay attention to call him back.
Yeah.
Like it's
He's double
passive
talked him.
aggressive stuff.
He's double talked himself so many times to her just to say what he thinks she wants to hear. The phone call that he's talking about the old people when they eat, he doesn't like their mouths, and then she gets all pissed off at him. It's like that's ageism, and maybe their mouth doesn't work. And he's like, oh, you know what? Yeah, you've opened my eyes to this. I'll come see you at the old folks home. He's just trying to get laid. He's saying whatever it takes.
Hmm.
He double talked himself 3 times in the movie. Another conversation when they
one,
were
I don't
walking
have a
around.
problem. I don't have a problem with changing your mind when given new information. And I think she made a really good argument about how it was ageism and he should give them a shot. And yeah, I think he said, yeah, you're right. So that's just growth. We watched character growth happen in, 35 seconds of a scene. Uh, so no, I don't think that's so bad. But shit, you made me forget what I was going to say. The other thing was, uh, um, somebody else jump in and tell Brian he's wrong. Well, I think about what I was going to say.
I was just thinking the irony of Brian saying that somebody's double talking to try and get what they want to somebody else. I was like, wondering if there's any examples that you could come up with of anybody doing that.
I don't know. I knew something shocking.
I'm just thinking of most of the job interviews you've been on that you've told me about before. It's a place to
I
start.
can't think of the other thing,
Okay.
but I will interrupt when you're talking, and it does pop into my head.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's completely welcome. Um, I didn't say whether or not I liked this movie. I did. I really liked it. Uh, I don't know if it completely holds up for some of the reasons, like Hilty's saying, I didn't watch it when I was a kid, so there's no nostalgia for me here, and it's okay. But like I said, it's got heart. It's got a tormented character who ends up winning out in the end, and he's easy to root for unless you think he's a stalker. Um, and the side characters are some of them are a little goofy, but I think they work. I do like the scene when it's all the guys on Saturday just drinking beer next to the Quick Mart or whatever that place is called. And he's kind of calling them out. He's like, "Well, if you guys know so much, why are you sitting here on a Saturday night?" That whole scene
Conscious
kind of really
choice.
works. Yeah, yeah. Joe is a pretty funny character, so lots of good stuff there. I
The
did everything I could. I did everything
yeah,
I could.
thank you for that. I don't know if this was the
Sorry,
thing I
too.
wanted to say, but I did think of one more thing. Um, and I've said this in the past. I know I've said it to Brian that uh what about Foresight, him talking about how kickboxing sport of the future, you know, he's basically laying out MMA in
All
1989.
right.
He's like, I think this, makes it not mixed martial arts at the time, but some type of martial arts. He's like, new sport, it's taking off, ground floor kind of thing. He could have been the Dana White of Seattle. We don't know. Um, but I just watching it, I was like, huh, he was really on it at that dinner table interview when he's like, I don't want to buy anything or sell anything or buy anything that's sold or processed or I don't know. I like that scene too. And then how that scene ends with, I just want to spend as much time as I can with your daughter, sir. You know, great lines.
Hmm.
You know, I like how he talks. I like how John Cusack talks. I like how he delivers lines. Anyway,
There is something in the trivia that's kind of funny. Um, in 2007, I don't know what Premiere is. I don't know if that's a magazine or a website or whatever, but I gave her my heart and she gave me a pen. Was voted number 73 of 100 greatest movie lines. Uh, that's noteworthy for our discussion here.
Fear the pen because she gave the pen to her father, before she left.
write me.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's some good stuff. Let's get to the guesses. We have two of our non-attending members have made guesses. Mike Wilden guessed me, and so did Maylo. So, Dan, you want to go on the record and talk about who may have picked this movie?
Well, now that we've talked about it, I'm wavering now. I think it might be Aaron, but
Hmm.
yeah, I'll stick with the Tim pick.
Okay. All right, that's three. Hilty, your thoughts on who picked this movie?
Dan wavering is now making me waver on my pick for you, so I'm going to pick Dan.
Boy, that brain never stops working over there. Never
Nope.
stops working over
Nope.
there. Aaron, your thoughts on who picked the movie? Say anything.
I'm picking Brian.
I will also pick Brian.
Uh-oh.
Is if the person who was here picked this
Can I
movie?
Wait,
pick?
who
Can
would
he
Brian
pick?
pick?
Yeah.
Can
Who's
I
Brian?
pick?
I'm sorry, Brian. Who do you think picked this movie?
Aaron Lashbrook.
Aaron Lashbrook. Okay.
Which
I'll,
now I can't believe Aaron would give it away and not pick himself. So now I'm concerned, but I think it's Aaron.
swear to God, if Hilty picked this fucking movie, if the person is here and picked this movie, please raise your hand.
No, I'm just kidding. I didn't.
Oh, it was Aaron. Damn it.
was
You were my
Aaron.
first guess. And something about the way Brian started off, I was like, fuck, Brian picked this. Shit.
As soon as you drew it last week, I went, Aaron.
You did. You said it out loud.
I was like, it's too on the nose. Empire Records and this one, it's too on the nose.
Yeah, I didn't pick
Shit.
anything after like 1990. Like all three of mine. So you know all three of mine are gone now, right?
Aaron's
Right.
done.
Right. All right. Well,
Stop
it's,
picking me.
it's that time. Go into the bag of things that Nikki printed out for us. And
Is this the last one in this series, or
I think we have one more.
okay?
Wow. Somebody finally picked it. I have been amazed that we have gone 248 movies without one of the most quotable movies in dudedom everywhere. It is A Few Good Men. We will be watching A Few Good Men. We could probably write the script from right now if we all collaborated. I bet we could come up with the whole script without having to even peek. Outstanding movie. That's one I definitely don't turn off. So we'll find out who picked it, and we'll talk about A Few Good Men next week. Have a good week, everybody.
That'll do it for this episode of the BTB Movie Club podcast. Thank you, as always, for listening. We know we enjoyed ourselves, and we hope you did too. Have yourself a great week. We are partnered with the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network.